Hi, I'll be going over the foot in the door and door in the face theories for my second application presentation. Foot in the door, or FITD, implies that someone would be more likely to do something larger for someone after agreeing to do something small. Door in the face, or DITF, would be when someone asks for something big, knowing that it won't happen, and then asks for something small, which is what they really want. The door in the face, or the foot in the door theory, works for multiple reasons, including BIM self-perception theory, consistency needs, and social norms. BIM self-perception theory implies that performing a small favor makes the person doing it feel helpful, and then in turn more cooperative. Having that self-perception allows them to do the larger favor. Consistency needs comes into play because the person may feel dissonance if they don't do the large favor. Social norms allows for the person to notice the social responsibility norm. The foot in the door theory works primarily in situations when the favor involves a social issue and when the second favor is related to the first one. It does not always work when the second favor is asked immediately after the first. The door in the face theory, on the other hand, works due to guilt, reciprocal concessions, social judgment processes, and self-presentation. People may feel guilty for rejecting the first request, which persuades them to accept the second one. Reciprocal concessions states that you should make concessions for people who make concessions for you. Social judgment processes allows the second request to be compared to the first, making it look nowhere near as extreme and easier to comply with. The self-presentation is the fear that you would be looked at negatively for declining the first request. The door in the face theory is sensitive to contextual factors and works best when a social issue is involved. It also works best when the same person is making the request, but there is a short delay between the two. I used the door in the face theory to my parents all the time when I was in high school. A particular instance that stands out to me is when I wanted to go to a concert downtown when I was about 16. I knew my parents didn't want me to go since I'd already gone to a few other shows that month, so instead of asking them about the concert first, I asked if I could attend a co-ed sleepover at a friend's house. Of course, this was made up, but I figured they'd be more likely to say yes to the concert if they thought my other option was spending the night with boys. As predicted, they were entirely opposed to this co-ed sleepover idea, so I eased in and said, a band I like is going to be in town that night. Can I go to that instead? And lo and behold, it worked, and they said yes. This was probably the first time that I used door in the face theory, and after I realized it worked so well, I used it multiple times while still living with my parents. Now that I have discussed an experience, I will make some inferences. As with any form of persuasion, I feel like both theories can be used for good or bad. When I realized how easy it was to manipulate my parents into letting me do what I wanted, I could have probably gotten away with a lot worse than I did, but luckily I was very boring at that age and didn't really have much to do anyways. I also believe that this theory is one of the easiest to use, even with very little knowledge of persuasion. Now that I have made some inferences, I will discuss how these inferences can be transferred to other situations. I think a situation that these theories would come into play frequently would be plea bargaining in legal situations, especially door in the face theory, because a defendant could ask for a better deal than they need or they want, and then get denied, and then in turn ask for the deal that they actually want, which is not as good as the first one, and be more likely to get that deal. In conclusion, these theories can definitely be used in many situations and appear to be very effective if utilized correctly. Thank you. Bye.